the medicine woman.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. It's Asha Lovely Day, your medicine woman here, and this video is basically going to be saying, what if inner child healing was the answer to your emptiness after all? So let me ask yourself, what is the inner child? For me, in my definition, I say the inner child is basically all the parts of yourself from your childhood, because we grow up, we're human beings, that you have neglected and that you need to address in your adulthood or your stage of adulthood. And it comes up in so many different ways. It comes up in emptiness, for one, and it comes in feeling lost and feeling like you have no direction. And sometimes when we're lost in our journey, when we're in our yellow brick road, we need to remember where we came from and remember who we were. And remember that child that was wounded, that was shamed, that was neglected, and was made to feel like they didn't matter, made to feel like their perspective or even their own like autonomy over their own life doesn't matter. And this starts because we live in a society where children and their contributions and their opinions and even their own overall autonomy is ignored because people assume that children don't and cannot have a say over who they are. Mostly, I wouldn't say children should have a say over their life completely. But I think parents have kind of taken the role of God rather than the role as a guide. And because of that, many of us, we don't have control in sometimes who we love. We don't have control in who we want to be, the professions we want to be. We kind of model ourselves after our parents when we forget our individuality as people as a whole. So the moment you start to then neglect that trauma, that's when the feelings of emptiness start to come up. And one of my videos I made before, I think it was, I don't know which one it was before, but if it is, I'm going to put it in the cards there. And I said something specifically about like targeting the emotion that has kind of held you back your entire life. For me, it was fear. I grew up very afraid. I grew up afraid generally because I didn't live in an area that was very safe for me generally. And fear has always been something that I've felt has held me back in ways different than others, because I would say I'm very brave in that aspect. But having my own relationship with fear change and allowing myself to still feel the fear and still feel the panic and still do things and still make memories and still do experiences and take opportunities was something that kind of made my life worth like living for me and kind of reduce the emptiness, because emptiness, numbness, all these feelings come from too much feelings that we have repressed. And if we start to then process these feelings, the processing part, girl, boy, whoever's watching, non-binary person, it is not easy. It's something that will come with a lot of pain, a lot of confusion. And the best way to start, the best way to go about healing that inner child is starting with that main emotion. For some people, it could be grief. I know a lot of people who lost people very early on in their lives. For some people, it could be being forced to grow up too fast. For some people, it could be so many, it could be anger. It could be frustration. It could be self doubt, inner saboteur, imposter syndrome. Really attack that emotion. And it could be all many at once. For me, it's many at once, but I will go on up here. That is holding you back from living your life and living the truth that you're supposed to be in, and not letting the people that have been surrounding you when you're growing up, whether it is your parents, the people you've grown around, hold you back from reaching your highest potential and doing what you're supposed to do in this life. So these are signs you need to maybe inner child healing is for you. You feel unfulfilled. You feel like no matter what you achieve, it's not enough. You feel like you're struggling with so low self worth. You constantly self sabotage, and you seek external validation all the time. And this problem stems from a wound from the childhood, or from the childhood wounds that kind of come up in ways that we don't recognize, and it's the kind of primal things that we're supposed to be taught that we're not taught yet. As children, we're supposed to be taught to kind of regulate our own emotions for ourselves. So because you're dysregulated all the time and you can't regulate your own emotions, you may feel the need to constantly be validated by others, especially by those who were your validating you during your own childhood when you're supposed to kind of be the own person validating your own self, even though we do need validation, if you know what I mean. We need to find that healthy, you need to find that healthy balance of seeking validation from other people, yet trusting your own intuition. So I think the most powerful way to kind of combat that is to overall get into the process of kind of just like trusting your own opinion. And you may not even think you have an opinion, but like just doing things. Like, and I'm not doing things without thinking, but just doing what it is you really want. Like, okay, today I really want to wear this color. I really want to wear this. And do it, especially when it's going against the grain and you do it. You're an adult. You made that choice. And even if it's in a choice that you may regret, it's a choice you made. For me, I regret choices where I was forced to do stuff rather than the choices that I made on my own. Because the choices that I made on my own, I can truly learn from them. I can truly take accountability for that. Because if it's I'm forced to make that choice, how do I take accountability for something that was not even my lesson to learn in the first place? So really truly being and honestly honoring your choices as well, the choices that you've made, the choices that come from you and not the external validation of others, not what society told you to. You made that choice, then you live with that choice. Because as Cher says, I quote her every day, this quote changed my life. It doesn't matter in 5 years, doesn't matter. And even if it doesn't matter in 5 years, it probably will matter in 10 and it will matter in 20. Learn to live with the choices that you made, especially the choices that you made that because you wouldn't be who you are without those choices, and we can't go back in time and go back to a time machine. So that means you were meant to make that choice. Human beings are meant to make mistakes because mistakes are the only way we can fully conceptualize the process of understanding where it is we're supposed to go. You need to make mistakes so that you can have lessons, so that you can acquire all the wisdom that you're supposed to carry with you throughout your life, and so that you can overall become your higher self. Make mistakes, make choices that you may not necessarily agree with in time, and then you'll see later why those choices later in life were choices that were life saving, were choices that led you to the person you were supposed to be with, led you to the job you were supposed to be with. Those mistakes are primal for you to reach the life that you are supposed to live. Those, even sometimes when it is hurting others or making those mistakes, because at the end of the day we can't learn to be the people. I think I make a video, harm is not subjective, how to be safe with other people. We can't learn to kind of create a safe space for the people that we love, create the boundaries and create the kind of life that we want for ourselves and the people that we want to be around if we do not like mess up, if we do not understand their boundaries, if we don't. And sometimes we may lose those people, but at the end of the day, we can move forward and then do better for the people that we have then acquired through our like lessons and wisdom. You know what I mean? I say that all the time. It's so annoying. So, this is how to start with your inner child healing. For me, it started with reconnecting with childhood joys and forgotten passions. So for me, it was very difficult. It was very different in the sense where like I always loved singing. I studied music, I did singing. So that has always been my way of reconnecting to my inner child. But for me, like pink was one of my favorite things for me as a child, my favorite color. It wasn't something I felt like I was allowed to kind of like or explore. So, really deeping into my inner feminine. And also, as I process and go through all the things that made me or brought me the most joy, musicals. I was a huge musical nerd, and it kind of was very frustrating that I could never get to watch the musicals. So now I try to watch musical movies, or sing songs from musicals I loved as a child. And dancing, I used to be a horrible dancer, and I'd be made fun of for dancing. So I take away the shame from dancing. Disney was a huge part of my childhood. Um, I started watching anime when I was a teen, but watching anime as well. Just things that brought me joy. And then I was very curious, and I was very curious about why people thought the way that they thought. And I liked psychology and social documentaries, and it's why I kind of delved into psychology, and I'm making this channel. So it's kind of directed me to do the things I always wanted to do, make the music I always wanted to make, sing the way I wanted to sing, because I have reconnected with my childhood self. And oftentimes that is the key to the things that we want to do. We discover so much about ourselves when we're young, when we're children, And then we're told from a young age that those things don't matter and they're not valid and they're not important. Sometimes I see pictures. I saw this ad of a baby climbing for a baby climbing up to the couch, and then it was like insinuating, like then it put a picture of them in the future of them like becoming a mountain climber, or I saw one of a baby trying to do ballerina or whatever, and then they became a ballerina. These are the kind of things that we need to reconnect with, and it's almost our soul's way of telling us to do what we're supposed to do. And sometimes that will come with losing certain people, but honestly, the cost of losing the losing the kind of things that will make you fulfill your destiny is much more than losing people who will hold you back. Really truly become the person that you want to be, and you can't become the person that you want to be if you can't look at the childhood version of yourself and be like, hey, I am this person. This is who I want to be, and this is who my childhood self would have felt safe around, and would have been proud to kind of just look at it and be like, "That's me." You know, I'd say reparenting yourself. So for me, I think you need to be kind to yourself and kind to people, or be kind to kind of qualities that you were kind of scolded for as a child. I have a learning disability, so it was something I was bullied for and kind of scolded for my entire life, and I had to get into the process of kind of just like healing that part of myself, truly healing that part of myself that was like scolded for things that I shouldn't have been scolded for, or was bullied for things I wasn't bullied, or hit for things I wasn't hit for, and kind of being patient with myself when those things occur. Even when sometimes people around me or family would make me feel bad about it, I'm always very kind to myself with those things, and I give myself the compassion that I deserve, because I know that I'm not doing it on purpose and I'm not trying to hurt anyone. It's just that I have a propensity sometimes to be clumsy, or sometimes to be a little bit messy. But it's things that I know that I'm actively working on and I'm not complacent about, and it's not something I'm gonna punish myself for. There's literally no need or any reason for you to punish yourself. It's unnecessary. You can take accountability without punishing yourself. That's something you should always remember. I'd say another is journaling. I think journaling about, like, even writing a cute diary is a perfect way to kind of heal your inner child, because you can actually understand them, see from their perspective, see from the perspective that oftentimes the people around you didn't want to see. Really truly see, I understand. I understand what that must have felt like. I had a conversation with my sister, and I told her growing up I was choked. And she said, I was like, oh, it's just a light choke. And she said, why would you say that to yourself? If I was choked, how would you feel? And because I felt like I'm older and whatever, that it just wasn't like, and it wasn't like a serious joke. It was so bad I couldn't like talk while I was sing for days, for like 2 days. And she said that whatever happened to you was horrible. And because I couldn't see from my childhood's own perspective, I just believed that I was deserving of that because of the person I was. I never kind of, you know, was at peace with understanding that I didn't deserve that. Little Ash did not deserve that. She deserves so much more than to be punished for who she was. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you have to kind of pick pick the version of yourself that is understanding to those kind of things. And as you met journal, you will become more patient, you will become more understanding of that part of yourself, and then really get justice for them and understand what is okay and what isn't okay, and really reprogram what has hurt you. Because I've said in my videos before, harm is not subjective. We're gonna make a video. I made a video about that. Harm isn't subjective. It will never be subjective, and it's not something that would ever become subjective ever, because those things take place in your body and you repress them, and then they then overload, and then you become dysregulated. So the best thing you can do for yourself is either to address it or process it, so you will find you don't feel emptiness or numb. The moment you start to feel emptiness or numbness, it's not a good sign. It's better for you to feel than to not feel. Human beings were brought here to feel. We're brought to feel sadness, pain, love, pleasure, hunger. We were brought here to feel. And if you're devoid of that, it's something that you should be extremely concerned about. So the more you journal about that, the more that you will overall get into that process of healing your inner child. I'd also so meditation. I did a meditation. I could put the meditation under here. It was basically I interacted with my childhood self. It was very, very specific meditation. I don't know. I might there's many on YouTube, but it was very specific. If I could find the exact one, I would definitely do that. And I hugged my inner child. I said so much things to her that I wanted to say, and I was so kind to her. And then I did one where I actually spoke to my future self. I think this is just me. I think it was just like playing at a certain frequency. And even she was just, I just imagined the kind of person she was. She was a bit much older. She had like longer hair. And she was overall just very like, very happy with me because if not, she wouldn't be her without me here. She wouldn't be here without all the sacrifices that I'm making, without all the process of healing. She wouldn't have been so beautiful and so poised. I remember her being so strong, poised, and just like so mature. And I feel like I'm mature, but much more mature than I am now. So those kind of meditations, especially if you do like if you're able to do that, I've been meditating for years. Just do them regularly. Speak to your inner child, speak to your future self. It's healing. It will kind of reduce that emptiness because you will know that on this journey, on this yellow brick road journey, you're not alone and you're not in a space where you will feel empty because at least even though it's hard, even though you're going through so much, you're heading somewhere. When you're empty, when you're lost, you feel like you're heading nowhere. So that's the end of the video. I hope that you like this one. Thank you so much for watching. This is from a specific anime, so if you can comment where that's from, um, I won't give you money, but I would really appreciate it because that's why I wore it, and because it's pink. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your support, and it's Asha Lovely Day telling you and forcing you, making you have a lovely day. Thank you so much for watching. I love you so much.